Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AEW October 30th, 2019 Dynamite review. I'm going to go ahead and just give you guys my overall rundown for this week's schedule, what you guys should expect for the next few days on reviews or uploads. Tomorrow night, I am definitely doing Crown Jewel, God help me. Hopefully this show is somewhat good or worthy enough to watch, at least being the best out of the bunch of Saudi Arabia pay-per-view quality shows. Hopefully it is actually a decent show for 3-4 hours. Something of that kind of nature. NXT, I will either provide that video Friday night or Saturday afternoon or Friday or Saturday morning, somewhere around there. I will not be doing any WWE regular television shows like Raw and SmackDown. I cannot sit through them and watch them. They are just downright fucking annoying and pathetic. So, yeah, I can't sit through that. That's just terrible shit to watch. Let's see here. I'm also going to provide you guys an add-on to my weekly uploads through Impact Wrestling. Yes, I'm going to do week-to-week Impact Wrestling off of Impact Plus, my Impact Plus subscription. So you guys will see that. Scheduled day on a weekly basis. Of what that will be, I'm not sure yet. I think it might either be Thursday or Friday. But with this Crown Jewel being in the middle of the week instead of on the weekend, it's kind of totally fucking up my whole schedule and what I want to do. Not to mention I also have other things in life to do besides just doing reviews and uploading videos on shit that have happened here in the wrestling community. But let's get into the show. This show was somewhat good, somewhat bad. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't as good as it normally has been in the last couple of weeks since its inception. But this show wasn't terrible. There's one thing I will mention. It is a hell of a lot better than anything WWE Raw or SmackDown can produce in a 2 to 3 hour show. I will put it to you guys that way. We did have a great, magnificent main event matchup for the tag team titles. Very surprise ending. I actually was shocked on who won this matchup nonetheless. I will say this. This matchup was definitely noteworthy to be the main event of the show. But let's get into things. The first matchup, first thing, we actually had Cody Rhodes meet up with Tony Schiavone with Dustin Rhodes at the landing of their airplane, and they mention they give each other a hug, and Dustin hugs his brother. They say goodbye to each other, and they drive off with Tony Schiavone in the limousine with Cody Rhodes. Later on during the show, we actually get a little bit more conversation between the two and get a little bit of insight on Tony Schiavone's relationship with the with the Rhodes family and so forth. So that was a little interesting things to hear. Not to mention a lot of build-up about how important it is for Cody Rhodes to win this matchup against Chris Jericho for the AEW World Championship. So, let's go into the very first match. We had Hangman Page versus Sammy Guevara. This matchup was very decent. Very good way of opening up the show. These guys went back and forth. Lot of good moves. There were some spots here that were a little kind of like not orchestrated properly. I think that this matchup was kind of somewhat of a little bit sloppy in the beginning, but it's just started to pick up in the middle and the end, and things got a lot better as things went on. Hangman Page did pick up the victory here and got the win. So I was very happy with that win. I think Hangman Page definitely needs a win like that to get himself rolling and get some momentum going into his matchup with Pac. So definitely a really good ending to this matchup. Hangman Page hits the buckshot lariat, and Guevara gets turns back and around, and covered 1, 2, 3 for the ending of the match. Post-match, Page gets on the mic and he says it's not a secret. He says it's not a secret, things haven't been going so well for him, but tonight felt good. He says at Full Gear he will do some cowboy shit, which that was not edited. I was a bit shocked by that. They allowed him to say that, and it wasn't edited at all. And he's going to take Pac's head off, is what he mentions. And then the crowd cheers for cowboy shit. A crowd chant for cowboy shit. That was very, very, SK, if you ask me. Very surprising they were allowing this word shit being tossed around on national television, and then the crowd chanting it on top of it. So, very interesting. Very good job by Hangman Page to kind of play towards the crowd and get the crowd interested in a new chant. Cowboy shit. I like it. So then we had a women's matchup, which, oh my god. This was probably the worst women's matchup ever on AEW. And I've mentioned many times before, I'm not really impressed with the women's division in AEW, but this matchup just made them look even worse. This match was terrible. Shauna versus Hakura Shida. I think I'm pronouncing the last name right. But Hakura, she has some skills, but Shauna, she has a nice ass, and she's blonde. She'd be perfect for WWE, but she can't wrestle for shit. I don't even think she can wrestle her way out of a fucking paper bag, to be quite frank with you. This was a fucking travesty. This whole matchup took a lot of time out of the show, too. And it was about 15-20 minutes long. I was not impressed with this match whatsoever. They had to go even into commercials and then bring it back for an extra 3 to 5 minutes. I hated this match completely. I thought it was trash. Hakura Shida, she's the one that picks up the victory. Hits a running knee strike, hits on Shauna and covers, and that will do it pretty much. And gets to 1, 2, 3. We then have a video package of Brandy Rhodes. It has photos of the women's division around her. Brandy is apparently some kind of witch now. Awesome Kong brings some blonde hair and cuts off a hunk of it. Brandy looks like she's casting a spell as she screams, and a wave blows out a bunch of candles in front of her. So this is pretty much a Halloween theme type promo about the women's division and how Brandy is kind of controlling the women's division and how it's all being sanctioned, I guess. I quite frankly did not like this. This was a lot of like fucking WWE formulaic promo video. It was just over the top garbage that I really did not have any interest in. I understand that it's Halloween tomorrow, but my god, come on. That was ridiculous. I did not like that. I thought that was garbage. Too much WWE. I've gotten away from WWE because of shit like this. So I really was not interested. But I understand everybody has a bad week or a bad day. Apparently AEW was having a bad day in this first hour. Second hour did pick up. I think a lot of that had to do with the World Series. I think they kind of just felt the need to just lay back, be a little, lay offish on their show, and just let the main event tell the story for the rest of the show. And the last hour did its part to uplift the show from being such a fucking travesty of a show that it was in the first hour. Because quite frankly, this first hour, I could have cared less. And that's very unusual for me to say that here on this channel, because since I've reviewed these episodes from the beginning episode, I have given it nothing but praise for the whole entire show. So for me to only be praising the second hour and hating on the first hour, it's a little characteristic of me. So I wasn't too happy with that. We then had another type of WWE sort of situation happen here, but I was getting where AEW was getting at with Inner Circle, because Inner Circle was all over the place, doing all kinds of horrible things, doing much like what NWO did back in the day in WCW. So I get what they were going for. Did it work? Somewhat. They seemed like a bunch of dicks, and I don't have anything against it completely, but my God, they were all over the show. I think if it wasn't for the Inner Circle, maybe the show wouldn't even be worthy to watch, except for the last hour with the tag team title match. So, and the trio match with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. But other than that, I mean, the rest of this show, I mean, you could have taken or leave it, really, be honest with you. We then have Chris Van Vliet introduced the Rock and Roll Express on stage. Holy shit, these guys are fucking older than shit. They come out and they mention they're also coming out with the AEW World Tag Team Championships, and they start to talk about being back in West Virginia 33 years ago competing for tag team gold. Then after the little spiel, Santana and Ortiz bum rush the two wrestlers from behind. Santana has a loaded sock and smacks both guys. What's in that sock, I have no fucking idea, but it definitely seemed like juvenile type delinquent shit. Like a sock with a fucking bar of soap in it, ready to pounce on somebody so you can hurt the living shit out of them. So the crowd starts booing as Santana and Ortiz check out the tag titles. They then pick up and slam Morton through a portion of the stage, and the Young Bucks run out to chase away Santana and Ortiz and then check on the Rock and Roll Express. That spot was pretty badass. I did enjoy seeing Morton go through the part of the stage and busting right through the floor. So I thought that was pretty damn cool. So we go back to the limo, and Shivani and Cody are on their way to the arena. Tony thought Cody would be more nervous. Shivani recalls meeting Willie Nelson, then goes to get Dusty Rhodes. He knocks on the door. Dusty says, "Come on in," and he's naked. What? Dusty asks if Willie is out there already. Tony said yes, and Dusty says the superstar always comes out last. Tony says it's good to make them wait, and that's what he wants Cody to do to Jericho. So he's revisiting a history in time from what happened back when Tony Schiavone dealt with Dusty Rhodes, which was very awkward just reading this because I didn't quite hear it very well because my TV was a little bit low at that point. Cody talks about his mom and how he just wants to impress her. Comments about wanting to beat Jericho, noting they've been in the locker rooms previously. So that was a very interesting little segment that they were having a discussion about. Then we had QT Marshall, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds versus the Best Friends in Orange Cassidy. This matchup was a fucking joke show. They were hyping up the Ricky and Morty show, and with them dressed up as the characters, reenacting another. It's basically a Halloween theme, being a character that, you know, dressing up as a character just before Halloween and so forth. Since Ricky and Morty are being advertised and pushed on TNT, since they are, I think, Cartoon Network is part of the Turner Broadcast Network, they were pushing this and advertising it to people, and they just used them as a gimmick to come out in as an attire. So whatever. This was just a joked out match. I hardly even paid attention. The Best Friends and Orange Cassidy win this matchup by pinfall, and that's it. So the AEW World Champion Chris Jericho, this is when things started to pick up and got really interesting. I really enjoyed this contract signing, plus the little attack afterwards that later occurs after they sign the contract. So the AEW World Champion Chris Jericho out in a purple jacket and pumpkins all over it. Another Halloween theme. They kept fucking pumping out Halloween themes all over this freaking show. Not that it really matters. It doesn't hurt the show any. I think it's just a little aggravating. We're watching wrestling. We're not watching a three-ring circus. WWE. Sorry, I sound like I'm hacking up a loogie there. So he heads out to the stage for tonight's contract signing. Cody gets out of the limo and heads in with Tony. Jericho barely looking at Cody as he comes out to the stage. Jericho then stands up and barks a bit at the crowd. Tony moderates the signing and has the official contract. Cody gets the papers first and signs them right away. So no hesitation. And then the papers are handed over to Jericho, who looks him over a bit. He then quickly stands up and laughs. Cody hops to his feet, expecting him to get attacked. Jericho says, "Ha, gotcha. Go ahead, sit back down. This match is too important." Crowd says Jericho sucks, and then he says, "I don't suck. Schiavone sucks," mentioning Tony Schiavone. Jericho says this match is too big to powerbomb anyone through a table. Alright, so we go further down. Jericho says it's Cody's biggest match. If he wins, he gets what he's always wanted, to be a world champion on a major promotion, such as like AEW, since he never had that opportunity in WWE. Although if he loses, then Cody isn't as good as he thinks he is. Very true. This is a very important matchup for Cody. Now, how would I go about? This is just me predicting or booking how this match should go. Honestly, I think Cody should lose this match. Not because, in a clean fashion, may I add. I think Jericho needs to win by dirty tactics. Now, I would like to see him win by dirty tactics without anyone involved in the match. I want to see this between them, both of them, competing over the title. I don't want to see any outside interferences. They don't need to do that. This strictly needs to be between Jericho and Cody Rhodes. And if need be, if Jericho needs to cheat to win, then that's what he does. But he doesn't need the rest of his goon squad coming out and helping him try to win a match. That's not going to help build Jericho in my eyes as a world champion. Now, him cheating by himself by a low blow without the referee seeing it, and him hitting a code breaker immediately after that while Cody is hunched over, that I would be cool with. A low blow to Cody Rhodes and then a Walls of Jericho with him passed out, not being able to answer the referee, I would be fine with that. So anything with a low blow or a tactic to go ahead and, remove a turnbuckle, for instance, while the referee can't see it, and he throws him into the turnbuckle, and his chest hits into it, and he's can't breathe, and then Jericho does a Judas effect, spinning back elbow. I'm cool with any of those tactics. But anything outside of that, I would be against. So I don't want to see any outside interference. I just want to see strictly between Jericho and Cody this matchup to occur and have an ending result with Jericho winning this match by a screw job. So that's how I see this is how it should be. So, Jericho continues that he's going to teach Cody a lesson. Then does the pen click thing like he did with the list. I was expecting him to come out and say, and after I sign this, you're going to get it. which he used to do in WWE just before he started the list thing when he was first with Kevin Owens at the time. So I thought that would have been cool if they would have thrown that in there just for shits and giggles, but they didn't. They left it as is. And he quickly stands up and gets Cody to stand up again. Cody tosses off his jacket. Jericho says, "Calm down, hillbillies," to the crowd. Crowd chants "a-hole" from the crowd. And Shivani and the person that was handling this whole contract signing back off to the seat. And Jericho says they are true pros and can sign the papers without any incident happening. Kind of a little bit referencing or innuendo of WWE once again, which was a nice little spin-off on it, because immediately when they shake hands, Jericho goes ahead, shakes hands, and he tries to go ahead and walk away and let go of the handshake, and Cody still holds on to it and pulls him directly face to face, smack dab right near each other's faces, in a very serious confrontation, confrontation, and it looked pretty damn good. But then we have Sammy Guerrero on the Titantron, per se, and he's saying, "Hey, is this mic on? Is this working?" and blah, blah, blah. And then we see him and the rest of the Inner Circle attacking Dustin Rhodes. Now, question. This is a logic gap. I do understand they were trying to go for a powerful-looking faction here, get Cody upset that his own family member was attacked by a bunch of thugs, such as the Inner Circle. But wasn't Dustin Rhodes not with them going to the arena? Wasn't he just by where the airplane landed, and Tony Schiavone and Cody went in the limo, and you don't see Dustin Rhodes for the rest of the trip to the arena? I mean, that to me seemed like a logic gap. I may need to go back and rewatch it to see if I missed anything, but I swear if I knew this correctly, Dustin Rhodes was nowhere to be found in the beginning portion of the show. In the middle portion of it, you see just Cody and Tony Schiavone in the backseat of the limo. You'd have thought that maybe you would have seen him get in the limo with them, at least in the beginning, and he didn't. He never even walked into the limousine with them. So maybe I missed something, or I'm correct, and there is a humongous logic gap here that should have been, fixed and everything before they decided to do this kind of segment. So I don't know. But that seemed a little bit illogical to me when Dustin Rhodes never appeared to be in the limousine when they were driving to the arena. Just my opinion. But then again, I want to find out facts, so I may go back and watch that just to correct that and make sure I am right. But I swear to you, I did not see Dustin Rhodes at all show up. But the attack was very nice. Jack Hager was beating the hell out of Dustin Rhodes with Sammy Guevara. And he low blows Dustin after Dustin was actually having a bit of an advantage, and he was brawling with Jack Hager, and then slams Dustin's head into the limo, denting it. Now, this portion is incorrect. The limo was not dented from his head hitting it. His ass, he literally got pressed up again. Jack Hager picked him up in a power slam type hold, slams his back into it, and then props him up a little bit higher, and his ass is sitting on the limousine, which causes the dent in the limousine first, and then he slams him down onto the limousine, and then takes his head and smacks his head into the limousine, where there was already a dent given to the limousine itself. So, again, another mistake by AEW in this segment. Some little bit of messed up issues here. I have to say. But was it a storyline driven segment? Yes, but there was a logic gap here which made no sense to me, and I do believe that we did not see Dustin anywhere in the limousine when they left from the where the airplane landed. So that was a bit of a fuck up on AEW's part. Then we had Hybrid 2, which is Angelico and Jack Evans with Kip Saban versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. This match was fucking awesome. I enjoyed this match very much. This was definitely noteworthy, worth watching. Everything done in this match, everyone in this match were spectacular. Did an awesome job. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks win this match cleanly, and of course they should, since they have important matches going into Full Gear for their pay-per-view event. So I definitely enjoyed that. Omega wins it with the V trigger on Evans, and a one-winged angel lands for the 1-2-3, and that's how the show how that match ends. They're shaking hands with the audience, the Young Bucks, and then we're attacked by the Inner Circle again by Santana and Ortiz. Why Santana and Ortiz attacked the Rock and Roll Express, I don't quite get it, outside of they're just trying to establish their dominance within the AEW promotion. So that's all I can really get from that point of view of what they were going for. This was definitely worth doing. I think what they did with the Young Bucks attacking, being attacked by Santana and Ortiz, I think that was a very smart idea and segment for them to provide to us to see, because this hypes up their matchup a little bit more going into the pay-per-view. So I did agree with that idea, what they were doing here and what they were trying to get at. So the Librarians, Peter Avalon and Leva Bates, head out. These two are fucking boring as shit. They belong with WWE, and Damian Sandow could take over his fucking gimmick if they really wanted to sign him to a AEW contract. Because this guy, Peter Avalon, reminds me of Damian Sandow in a very more trashful tasting manner. So he goes out to the crowd, he shushes a bunch of times, he says Halloween time, and he says it's Halloween time and it's appropriate time for the hideous monsters in the crowd to look the way they do. Sounds a lot like WWE bullshit some more, peeking its ugly head. So Avalon says it makes sense why wrestling hasn't been here in 20 years because it is rotten. Moxley comes through the crowd, hits a Death Rider to Avalon, kicking him out of the ring. Moxley, at that point, from doing that, he provides the greatest, the most fantastic fucking promo of his life. Because in the beginning portion of the show, he is told that this matchup that he is having with Kenny Omega is a lights out match, which means it's an unsanctioned match. No time limits, no DQs, no rules, no nothing, but the match is unofficial. It means that nothing will occur. If he wins, it doesn't go on his record, nor does it go on Kenny Omega's record either if he wins or either one of them loses. So this match means nothing, basically. The only thing that this builds on is Jon Moxley. This whole matchup is for Jon Moxley. It's not for Kenny Omega. This is for Jon Moxley to build up his character even more. Here's why. This promo gives a full-on indication that this is all about Jon Moxley's build-up and making him even more important within the AEW brand. Moxley gets a mic to talk about Full Gear, which is now an unsanctioned match. No time limits, no DQs, no rules, but officially the match doesn't even count. Moxley says when he beats Omega and they are just going to pretend like it never happened. Moxley feels that AEW is trying to treat him like a freak, keep him in a little box or in a corner, as if he's an outcast to the AEW. Now, this sounds a lot like what WWE was doing to Dean Ambrose, or should I say Jon Moxley now, at the time when he was in WWE, mistreating him, misrepresenting him, and putting him in a position where he gets nowhere and can't get over as a wrestler. Here, it's touching on that in the sense of AEW higher-ups and officials, treating him like a fucking idiot. So he kind of really rubs into that and goes in-depth analysis towards how he feels about it and just making him feel like everybody's just a bunch of yes men. So I'll continue on what this little caption has of what he said. So Moxley says these guys in suits always come up to me and say, "John, we know you're a different kind of cat." He says he knows what that means and it's an insult. Moxley says if this is how it's going to be, he tells AEW to shove their wins and losses record up their ass. That was a very good comment as well, making it seem like kayfabe type storyline build, like he is very upset with AEW as a whole, which is very good by creative. Whoever is coming up with this idea for Moxley is a genius idea. How long they can go with it, I'm not quite sure, but they could make him a top heel or make him an anti-hero within this company. He could, really, to be honest with you, Jon Moxley could become the modern day Stone Cold Steve Austin in his own image. To be honest with you, I think Moxley is a guy that gives off the Stone Cold type gimmick. I think he is a guy that you can use as your top guy within this company and make him a mega star that he should have been in WWE to begin with. So he tells them to take the wins and loss record. He also is pissed off about the time limit last week against Pac, which was great idea by AEW. I thought that was fantastic what they did. So with them going with that idea, I applaud them for that. This hypes up and builds more frustration within Moxley. So Moxley goes on to say he will beat Omega within an inch of his life. He tells AEW and all the suits in the back to kiss his ass and stay the hell out of his way. He also mentions that he's going to brutally destroy Kenny Omega and make him look like a bloody pulp. It's going to be the most violent wrestling match in decades. That's fucking huge. You're like putting a lot of weight on top of your shoulders, and you and Kenny Omega need to provide proof that this is going to be the most violent match in decades. You have to live up to what you speak about. So, not just words, but action need to be applied to this match now from what you're telling me. So I expect to see this like ECW type wrestling shit. I expect to see blood. I expect to see tables destroyed, thumbtacks, whatever it takes or whatever you guys can do to get this match over as a believable, violent match. Now, I don't want them to take a chance of injuring themselves because both of these guys are really needed on this program. So for them, they need to make it as violent as they can, but also at the same time, not in the chance of them getting injured. And I know that's very difficult to do because when you're in a violent match, you need to go all out crazy to make it that kind of violent match. So it's going to be very difficult. Hopefully nothing really bad happens to either one of these guys where they sustain an injury, which I hope that's not what happens here. But I expect to see some really good things come out of it, because if you're going to say that, you better provide the action, because all you did is just shoot yourself in the fucking foot and make yourself look like a bunch of contradiction. So I expect this match to look hardcore as fuck. So we get the main event, Lucha Brothers versus SCU for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. This matchup was very solid, very nice main event. It was noteworthy to be the main event. I was hoping it would be, and it definitely was, and it lived up to its expectations. What I didn't expect is SCU to walk away as the tag team champions. The reason why I say that is because Santana Ortiz, as you already know from the beginning of the show, they attacked the Rock and Roll Express. And they were holding the AEW World Tag Team titles, which indicated that they are interested in getting first cracks at the AEW World Tag Team titles for whoever wins that match. Now, they should have went straight out of the gate giving the titles to the Lucha Brothers. Reason why I say that, maybe I'm wrong about this, maybe I should be a little bit more patient on this match to happen. We need to see Lucha Brothers versus Santana and Ortiz on pay-per-view for those tag team titles again on a bigger stage. And this is definitely the platform they need to provide it. Because these two teams, provided a fucking fantastic tag team wrestling for the beginning portion of 2019 in Impact Wrestling. They were the talk of the town when it came to tag team wrestling, and they brought some attention towards Impact Wrestling because of these two tag teams. So, I don't know why they went with SCU. Maybe it was to surprise people and give people a little bit of a shock. It definitely shocked me that they went with SCU instead of Lucha Brothers. But, SCU is deserving of the tag team titles. I really didn't have any problem with it. Either tag team would have been fine. But because of the little indication of Santana and Ortiz holding the tag titles, kind of felt they should have went with the Lucha Brothers instead. But they could always revisit that idea that I'm talking about later on. So that's not a big deal in itself. I just would have liked to see the Lucha Brothers win the tag titles anyway. I think they're the more deserving team. They provided a lot more entertaining wrestling matches as a tag team than SCU has in the last year. Just saying, that's just my opinion. I think the Lucha Brothers are the best tag team right now in professional wrestling. Maybe some other teams I might be missing out on that are better, but these are definitely the top 5 best tag team. They're in the top 5 of best tag teams in the world right now. Just my opinion. But this matchup got the crowd hot. They were very interested in this match, like the trio match that they had with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks in it. So that match was a very good matchup as well as this one, and it ended up with a amazing, shocking Scorpio Sky getting the inside cradle for the 1-2-3. The rest of the match, great stuff, great spots. There was a bit of a botch by Kazarian. Kazarian tried to do a Hurricanrana off the top rope while Phoenix was on the apron. And he ends up Hurricanrana Phoenix, but Phoenix kind of just drops to the floor. It was so sloppy and not the best Hurricanrana I've ever seen in my life. And Frankie Kazarian just lands directly on the fucking apron, on the side apron where the mat is, the hardest part of the mat. And he really looked like he hurt himself bad. He was kind of out of the match for most of this matchup, actually. Scorpio Sky did most of the work here to help them at the end, and that's how they picked up the victory. Rey Fenix, he actually did something that was very entertaining. He did this last week. He ran on the ropes and then kicked his opponent in the fucking head. Ran on the ropes, all the way across the ropes, that you make one false move, you fuck up the whole entire spot. He manages to do it perfect. 2 weeks in a row. I never seen him do this on any matches he's done in the previous times I've seen him. And this match and the match last week, he does that spot and does it picture perfect. He also had one spot where he was trying to be tripped by Frankie Kazarian, and he leaps up to avoid the trip, puts both of his feet in the middle part of the rope. Then he tries to do it in the middle part of the rope. He leaps back upwards onto the top rope and then jumps and does an arm drag to Scorpio Sky, and that's the spot. That was fucking unreal. An amazing balance by Phoenix to be able to do something like that and not butcher that spot. I was very impressed by Rey Fenix. He was the best guy in this whole entire matchup. Honestly, Rey Fenix, he doesn't even need Pentagon Jr. He really doesn't. Pentagon Jr., he's a hardcore wrestling lucha wrestler. Rey Fenix is like Rey Mysterio, only better. This guy is like Rey Mysterio in his prime. Rey Fenix is fucking far and beyond Rey Mysterio. This guy is a fucking amazing wrestler. I definitely could see him as a world champion someday on AEW. He's just that fucking good. But that's my overall conversation here about this episode. This episode was pretty damn good. Second hour, first hour, like I mentioned, was a bore fest. And it really did not do... It wasn't intriguing me whatsoever. I was not impressed with this. I am sorry to say that. I know that's totally out of character for me to say that, but this show just did not hit me the way it has the last couple of weeks. The last hour, though, did the right thing. They fixed where they were fucking up, and they just kind of impressed me a little bit in the second hour. I really think because of the World Series for Game 7 being on TV, I think they kind of just slacked off, let it be what it is, and they kind of figured they probably wouldn't get a lot of ratings grabbers, and they just kind of said to themselves, let's just kind of lay off, build a little bit of story, which they did. They built some good stories on their main portion of their matches for Full Gear, so they did a good job on that. They didn't slack off on that, but the in-ring work, really outside of the last hour, the first hour just was nothing. You really could take it or leave it. It wasn't that big of an importance. It just was a complete waste of time, to be honest with you. Outside of Hangman Page's match, the rest of it just was, whatever. But I'm not going to totally destroy or bash the crap out of this episode. It just wasn't as good as the other episodes before this one. So that's just my opinion. Leave your comments and opinions down below. Hit the like button if you liked the video, and hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel, and maybe someday I'll learn how to talk. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and have a great night, guys. Bye.